Hey, what's up, everybody? So, in this episode, James and I will be talking about some interesting stuff, especially the last UFC. The last UFC was crazy, especially the Usman knockout. So, check it out, enjoy. Right on.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Yamatodamashii podcast. Enson, how's it going? How's business? Been busy?
Yeah, in Hawaii, business picking up, getting busy, getting a lot of orders, so which is really good. And I'm just here, like, pretty much just making bracelets all day, like continuously making bracelets all day.
Yeah.
So everything's good, man. That means business is good.
Yeah, nice. And you were also sharing some news this week about Rizin and Rizin's involvement in Hawaii. So what's going on there for people that didn't quite see the announcement?
Yeah, well, Rising has a big opportunity right now because they're having a fight with Floyd Mayweather and one of the Japanese stars, Asakura. And so, as you know, Floyd Mayweather is a worldwide name. And as you also know, Japan hasn't been into live streaming. They've been only about, pay-per-view. They've been only about, live gate. And if they did any streaming, it was always just in Japan. So the thing with that is they're starting to realize that the pay-per-view is a really big market.
Mm-hmm.
And they're excited about it, and so they're thinking of opening up the market in America, and they know that the pay-per-view sales and pay-per-view profits would be huge. So with Floyd Mayweather on the card, I think it's like they're a very good opportunity for them to start up their pay-per-view. And they're going to start it off with getting some Hawaii fighters. Hawaii's a part of the U.S. and I think they're overall looking at like killing two birds with one stone. When they're getting American fighters, they're also getting Hawaii fighters, which is very the Hawaii fighters are known to be real aggressive, real heated, a lot of heart. And Japan is not like America where it's all about winning and losing. It's more about giving it your all.
Mm.
So they feel, they like the Hawaii fighters, and I think they understand that there'll be a hit in Japan. And on top of that, one of their other objectives is to have a rising Hawaii, where one side of the whole card is going to be Hawaii fighters, other side of the card is going to be Japanese fighters. So
Nice.
That'll be super interesting. So that's the thing that they're working on. And they asked for my help, and I kind of was really for this. I talked to them about having a lot of Hawaii fighters because how aggressive and hot heated they are. And they agreed. They see BJ Penn fight, they see Max Holloway fight, they know me firsthand, and they got really excited about it, or to a point where they're asking me to help gather fighters. So that's what we're doing. So what's happening this in a couple weeks is on the 30th of August. Floyd Mayweather is coming to Hawaii with Mikuda and with a bunch of Japanese fighters, and they're going to have a press conference announcing the fight on the beach in Waikiki.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so it'll be nice. It'll be a nice press conference. We've already got all the news stations in Hawaii coming, and I'm not sure what the plan is because these guys are like totally, trying to get things together in a scramble. So it's real hard for them to get things organized. So at first they said they wanted to see if I could, make a little brief speech and maybe have Egan and BJ Penn do one. So, but I'm not sure if now it's changing that press conference is just going to only be about Mayweather fight, or are they going to use that press conference to also announce about the tryouts that we're having in 2 days later. So there's going to be a tryouts on the 1st of September. And it's going to have all the top fighters that are not tied to an association. come to the tryouts and show their stuff, show their game, and it's going to be where Rising is going to want to grab fighters for their roster, and if the fighter impresses them enough, what they're going to do is they're going to like the Contender Series, they're going to give them contracts right there on the day.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so when I made that post on Instagram, I got so much messages from a lot of Hawaii fighters, and they really they're really excited, and it's like almost like it lit a fire under the Hawaii fighters. So shit, I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, man, because Hawaii's got such a rich MMA history, right? With the whole Super Bowl fights, and then it became like icon, didn't it? And yeah, those events happened from like 95, 96, so it's been there around on the island right from the beginning.
Yeah, very. Hawaii's like a real competitive fight island, so I think it fits hand in hand for the Hawaii boys, and I'm excited because I'm a Hawaii boy, and without my opportunity in fighting, I really don't know what I'd be today. I probably wouldn't have Power Stone Shop. I wouldn't have written a book. And I probably wouldn't be known in Japan or throughout the world because of my fighting. So I know the Hawaii boys train hard, and some of them really love MMA with their heart. And it's like a dream. It's a dream come true to be able to, finance your life, make a lot of money in fighting, and maybe not if you don't make a lot of money in fighting, like me, make a big name enough that your name can help you, create a nonprofit foundation, sell Power Stones, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure if I wasn't who I was, I don't know if the business would take off like it is. So yeah, I'm just really excited to actually give back and use my notoriety and my fame to be able to help the other Hawaii boys. So that really excites me.
Yeah, it's really cool. No, it's exciting, and also Mayweather versus Mikuru Asakura. I'm looking forward to that. That's an interesting fight. I mean, we talked about it before, right, when it was announced, but yeah, I'm interested to see the optics
On
of that.
on Mikura's channel, did you see the Mikura he went to the Philippines to meet and train with Pacquiao.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of looked pretty sharp, man, his hands, and Pacquiao seemed like he was pretty impressed.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that I thought that was interesting, right? That he went all the way there.
The only
To train.
thing is, if you notice the things that Pacquiao was saying, that he's going to do good, all he needs to work on is, footwork and something about accuracy of punches. And it's like the things he was saying was things that are not going to be developed in a month.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, he's super good, and yeah, he has a chance. All he has to do is it's like, yeah, James, you have a chance to buy a house in Hawaii, but all you have to do is make more money. He's like, so when I heard that, I was like, ooh, I mean, is he being real political about his answer? But I don't know. I thought Mikula hit really hard, really good, man. I mean, hitting mitt hard and being able to land something flush on Floyd Mayweather as he's jabbing back at you is two different stories. So, man, I don't know. I mean, he looked really good, so it kind of made me get a little bit more excited for the fight now.
Yeah. You never know, right? People get old. I saw him post a really funny video actually, where I think he was in Vegas. And he was going around and asking people if they knew who Floyd Mayweather was, and everyone's obviously like, yes. And then he's like, I am gonna fight him, and they're like, you really? So it's just
That's interesting. I'm gonna look for that one.
It's a funny video, man. But yeah, cool. No, I can't wait. This sounds like there's some exciting Rizin stuff to come. The cool thing about Rizin, right, is it's always different. It's always, UFC can be very by the numbers, what's happening. But whereas Rizin kind of will throw you with all sorts of different things coming in the future. So it's exciting to see what happens next. But speaking of UFC, there was a UFC this past weekend, and lots of shocks, lots of surprises. But overall thoughts on the card?
Oh, that was a great card. I mean, as it goes on, it's like you kind of, the main card is exciting card. As it gets to the main event, it should get more exciting. And it kind of did. And it's funny because at the time I was like, damn, the co-main event should have been the main event. Until the last minute of the fight happened, and I was like, whoa, I almost feel like overall looking at the event, the main event was a good fight. It's weird
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I mean, all the the stagnant fight style that they showed, like Usman not really doing like damage enough to hurt him, like take him out standing, but enough to hit him and make him uncomfortable, taking him down, controlling him on the ground. That was just a little bit too strategic. I mean, it's a
Mm,
perfect fight for him to win, but
mhm,
not the fans,
mhm.
favorite type of fight. So, but I guess it wasn't that bad because that surprising end just seemed like in my mind it kind of just erased all that thinking that, oh damn, this is a real slow moving fight.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
it goes like, whoa, I feel like overall the last two fights were exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it's so reminiscent to sort of George St. Pierre, right? Where in the later part of George's career, he started to get quite a lot of criticism where it was kind of like, George doesn't really finish fights. He's very strategic. He'll take guys down. And it was kind of like Usman does the same thing. But yeah, we never got that like moment where actually George got like obviously the Matt Serra fight, but the when he was like deep in his prime, we never got that moment where he was just knocked out. So to see like probably the pound for pound best fighter right right now get completely like decapitated by one of the guys from my side of the world, yeah, it was pretty satisfying. Pretty, I really like Usman. I think he's I tell you what, I wanted to ask you about this because I was really impressed with the fact that he was talking about going up to 205, because that was a bit of old school mentality, right? Where, no weight classes, that side of things. I mean, what was your take on that, just with his mentality going into the fight?
Well, I almost felt like he solidified with beating Leon Edwards. He beat all the contenders twice.
Mm,
Covington twice, Masvidal twice. He kind of started clearing out the division. And Leon, he already beat once, and if he beat Leon this time, it would have been the second time. So I can understand. Maybe he needs to stay motivated, and maybe he wanted to take a challenge, which is kind of cool because that weight class I think is a lot bigger than him
yeah,
naturally.
that's
So
like
and he's already a nice built guy. So now that he can pack on more muscle to make him bigger. So I know, yeah, I thought it was pretty old school, and I thought it was pretty cool that he was gonna go
yeah,
up that high of a weight class. And I don't
two
think he
weight
has a
classes.
chance, but shit, you never know.
Yeah, I do. I'm guessing he won't do it now after getting knocked. I mean, if you get knocked out by Leon, then going and face someone that's two weight classes above, someone like Jiri, like was what he was originally talking about, doing title for title. I think because he was talking about skipping middleweight because of him and Adesanya, I think, are friends. So, but I thought that was cool to hear. Hopefully, maybe someone else, will look to do that sort of thing, right, in the future,
Well,
where they do
maybe
the whole
maybe he might do it even more now because now he doesn't have his title in the lower weight
maybe,
class, and maybe
maybe.
it's like shit. Let's just do it. Let's go for it. I don't know. It might have sparked him to actually be more balls on to try something new.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, Leon Edwards from Birmingham. It's about an hour and a half away from me, if that.
Really,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's
the
cool.
only thing with that Neon Edwards thing is it was an interesting win, but I wish that fighters like that would be a little more real, because it was obvious he was outclassed.
Mm,
I mean, the fact that he knocked him out is a prop to him. A lot of respect because someone who was so down on the cards that like you had to really knock him out, and he didn't seem like he was going balls out to knock him out. He still was, throwing hard shots that could knock him out. So that's a lot of respect to him. But it's like it's obvious that he really got lucky in the last minute to catch him with that kick. And I mean, I wish fighters would just be real about that, and say, yeah, man, he outclassed me. I don't know if it was the altitude or I don't know, he beat me, but he came on the mic and saying, I knew I was there. I knew it was gonna happen. It's like, no, there's no way in the middle of the fifth round you honestly could tell us you knew you were gonna win. I mean, it just kind of disappointed me that he didn't get real and say, damn, I thought I maybe I knew if I kept throwing that kick I would catch him, and I was hoping I would. And I'm lucky I did because on the cards I was down, so.
Pro- Probably adrenaline, right? Like he's probably super stoked, super surprised that he's just like knocked him out. So he's probably just
Yeah,
there like saying whatever. But I think I mean he had some success in round one, right? You know, he took down
yeah,
Usman, which
he did.
was a
He
surprise.
did. He
So
did. But after that, he
um
got controlled totally. Yeah.
yeah, I know 2, 3, and 4 were not looking good for him at all. But yeah, well, what did you think of his cornering? Because you could see people online like saying, "Oh, you know, his corner," because his corner was, I don't know, typical UK saying, "Get the fuck up," like sort of thing, just like every time you go to the ground. But like, it seemed to like fire him up a little bit.
Wait, was the corner being criticized?
I heard they were being criticized because, I mean, you see, you know, guys like, what's his name, like Greg Jackson and even Trevor Whitman, right? They're quite like calm and soft spoken, and you know these guys are just yelling at him, like just to not. They were just sort of trying to fire him up, I guess. And I mean, in your opinion of being a corner, is there anything wrong with that approach?
No, not at all. I mean, what I think is the corner knows the fighter the best, and they know what they want the fighter to get to. They need to motivate him a certain way. If they needed to light a fire, they know the
Mm,
best way to light a fire. I mean, maybe they know that if you talk normally and you talk intellectually to Leon, that he won't it won't ignite a fire in him. And they probably knew that the way to talk to him, to scream at him, was the way to get his attention. So, I would never criticize the corner because the corner knows their fighter more than anyone else, and they know how to motivate. They know how to, make them confident. I mean, there's a way to do it for every fighter. So,
yeah.
if that's the way it ignites Leon's fire, then that's probably the best way. I even with that aside, I don't think that's a bad way to coach either way.
Mhm.
I think it
Definitely.
showed the urgency that the corner felt that he had to,
Yeah.
wake up, start up.
I think it's good that they were like super upfront. You know, you're down 2 or 3 rounds, like you got to
Yeah,
do something. So, but yeah, so
they kept
um,
it real. Yeah.
and then you mentioned the co-main event. I mean, before we get to the fight, Luke Rockhold had some really interesting comments around the UFC. I just wondered if you had an opinion on anything that he said.
Oh, about the fighter pay and that kind of stuff. Makes
Hmm.
sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Because UFC has had the Reebok sponsor. Now they have a different sponsor. What is it now?
Is it Under Armour?
Under Armour. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
So,
think. Yeah,
and it kind of shuts off the fighters from getting alternate sponsors, which probably made them
yeah,
a lot of money. So
right.
that is unfortunate. That makes sense, and but I think what people, most of the fighters need to understand is that the UFC is a business that started from nothing and was 3 years in the hole, being supported by casinos. And Dana fought and scratched for the Lorenzo brothers to give it another year, another chance. And I don't know any financials in the business. So doesn't any of the fighters. And they can always say like, "Oh, they're making this much pay-per-view money. Why don't they pay us more?" And I just don't like when people will gauge what they think they're worth
Hmm.
from seeing how much is being made.
Hmm. Hmm.
I almost did it. I almost did it. I'm looking at that. Rising gave me a. They're paying me. They gave me a little lump sum payment to help them, and I was like, wow, this is a good amount of money. That's pretty cool. They're showing their appreciation. The next night we go to a hostess club, have some drinks, and they pay $5,000 for the hostess club. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, they're paying $5,000 for a hostess club. And if my payment is 2 times that or 3 times that or whatever it is, I'm thinking these hostesses that mean nothing to them, they're giving them a fraction. They'll spend the amount 3 4 nights in a row going to the hostess club. They'll spend that money and telling me that I'm worth 4 nights at the hostess club. And I started thinking, wait a minute, that's not right. And then it runs back to me. Oh, they made over 100 million Tenshin Takeru fight. And then I then sit back and say, wait, what are you doing? Why are you comparing? It's, human instinct to say, wow, you made that much money, you're only giving me this. It's like a homeless guy going and giving them, or like a massage lady, you're getting a massage and you're giving them like a $20 tip. And then they see like 50 20s in your hand and like, oh, give me another 20,
Yeah.
That's the thing that human nature does. And I think a lot of the UFC fighters are falling into that and getting caught in that natural human instinct and judging their fight money according to what UFC is making.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just I can see the fighters' frustration where it's
Yeah.
very obvious how much the UFC has grown. And the UFC these days feels so much more than ever like a business, right? I mean, they always were a business, but since the buyout, it does feel kind of like, hey, yeah, great, the UFC's getting bigger. I guess back in the day, everyone was rooting for the UFC to get bigger, right? The fighters, the fans. But it kind of feels like only the UFC got bigger and not the fighters. And his point, I think, was, to me, that was quite transparent, was when he was talking about the bonuses back in the day, and it's like less, if not, or if not the same. And it's one of them where I think they should do something more about it, because I know they're looking at getting the cheaper prospects from around the world, and they need tons of fighters on the card. I get that. They have way more fighters than they ever did, right? They're giving more opportunities to more people. You can't take that away from them. But I can certainly see the argument for people that have really put their time in for the UFC, that have built the brand, and their name value has created awareness for the UFC. I think there should be more that's done in that regards.
Well, what I think is important more than the fight money is health insurance, retirement fund, because fighting isn't like being a lawyer, it's something that you're really taking a toll on your physical body and possibly could be, living a harder life because of the injuries you've got to fighting.
Yeah,
and I do feel that there should be a health program and even a retirement fund for the fighters that retire. They use their name to make the UFC such a huge brand. They should be taken care of. Yeah. So I do see the point, and I did see Rockhold's interviews. I just had this real tinge of a lot of negativity and a lot of anger on his side. I was kind of disappointed that he was really, really negative. He had this real asshole vibe to him.
I think he's always had that, right?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, is I didn't know he was really always like that. So it kind of surprised me, because as far as I was concerned, when I first watched the matchup, I was like, wow, Luke's back. All right, I know Luke's really good, so I'm like, oh, I love to see what he's gonna do now.
Yeah,
because he's like a well-rounded fighter. Besides him getting clipped by Bisping, I mean, he's overall, like, his ground, his standing, everything. He's really, really good.
Yeah.
And Costa misses weight, comes in over 20 pounds with Vittori, and he makes it a catch weight. And then Vittori's cool enough to make it a catch weight, and he still shits on him and talks shit about him. I didn't have a good taste in my mouth for Costa. So when I first had the matchup, I was like, yeah, right. I want to see Luke Rockhold win and then beat Costa, and then I want to see what he's going to do in the division, like rock up the division, because he is really a top class fighter. And then when I heard the shit he was talking and Costa being all cool about it, I'm like, oh man, something in me just changed. Like, it wouldn't be too bad to see Costa drill his fist through Luke's face. I mean, it was one of those things where I'm not being a fighter or an ex-veteran or anything. I'm just being a fan. I'm like, yeah, I want Luke to win. Oh, fuck, he's being a dick. Oh, Costa. I mean, I felt like a fan going wishy-washy back and forth. But
yeah,
I felt more disappointment, I guess, that Luke was being such a, like, I always think that, fighters should always be, because it's such a big sport now, there should be a role model for the younger kids. And I just felt that type of attitude was something that, I wish he could have suppressed a little more and not brought it out. And that, then I was thinking maybe it's a game to try and piss off Costa, which obviously wasn't working. But
Yeah.
man, the fight though, huh?
Oh, the
I mean,
fight was
Costa
crazy.
was as he was. Costa was as is. I mean, like a beast and coming in.
Yeah.
But Luke, man, Luke showed so much heart.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh man, I got nothing but respect for him now, man. It's like, I mean, he can talk all the shit he wants. He backs it up
Yeah.
because, not only was he getting hit by hammers, I could tell that he was getting. I think his nose also broke, so he couldn't breathe out of his nose, which makes it even worse.
Yeah.
And the altitude was killing him. I could see him; his chest was burning, looking for oxygen. And
Yeah.
for him to have pushed that hard and went through that as he did, man, he's not a normal fighter, man. He's one of the exceptional fighters,
Yeah.
with heart wise.
There was one shot, I think, where he was on the ground, and you could just see the blood coming out of his mouth. It was like
Yeah,
it
pouring
was
out.
almost like it was coming down from the broken nose into the back of his throat, and he was spitting it out or something. I don't know, but
Yeah, there was
it's
one point. Yeah, I saw that. I remember that.
yeah, yeah. It was something else with the amount of blood that was coming out of him, and like you say, with the altitude, it just makes things that much harder. But there was
Yeah,
that. The crazy thing about that fight was it was almost like Luke was still in it despite being super tired, because there was one moment which I nearly like jumped out of my seat where I think it's gone viral on Twitter, where he shouts something like "fuck you" and then throws a punch, and you see Costa stagger back, and it was just like, wow, the power that he had despite being so tired.
yeah, yeah. He was throwing so solid punches. Yeah,
It's a shame he retired at the end of the fight. I was like, I'd love to see him fight again. Just maybe not as high in the division as a Costa, because Costa is like a real savage, like you say. Um, but there's definitely fights for him in the UFC still to make. But he seems a bit like, if I couldn't get it done at the top, then what's the point? So fair enough. But
I think what really affected him a lot was the air, the thin air,
mm,
the altitude. So I mean, I wish he would have given himself another chance on a sea level like Las Vegas, because I think he would have done much better, man. After seeing, he's fatigued and everything, but he rocked Costa a couple of times,
yeah,
took Costa's hard shots. So what happened to that glass jaw? I thought he had a glass jaw. What happened to that, man? His jaw is not glass, man. I don't
no,
know how Bisping put him out like that. I mean,
yeah,
whew,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
when you think you know the fighters, man, it just shows you that you can't judge them on one fight. Yeah,
And even the kicks he was throwing, I was super impressed with. There was a time where he threw like 4 body kicks in a row or something like that. It was like, that's something you see in like a Muay Thai fight.
yeah. And he has this amazing question mark kick.
Yeah, yeah,
Comes up and whoop.
yeah. And even like he was doing like one point he was really tired, and then he does like a spinning back kick sort of thing. Loads it up, spins, and fires it away. And I was just like, wow, he was really throwing sort of Hail Marys, but some of them were landing, and like you could tell it was just one of those fights where anything could have happened in the next thing.
But damn, that Costa, what a beast, huh?
I wonder who he'll face next, because it's a bit of an interesting one, right? He had. I
Well,
don't think he earned a title shot after that. But
well, the interesting thing about that whole thing is that's his last fight as a contract,
oh yes, it is. Yeah, right.
and he seemed like he was, it was perfect timing where Jake Paul talked shit about him, and one of the interviewers brought it up, and he pretty much was like, "Oh, send me the contract, Jake."
I didn't see that.
Yeah, and I
Wow.
kind of, I kind of want to see that because I think he's a brawler, yeah, and I think the only time he turned off as a brawler was when he fought Adesanya, because he was intimidated, and I think he technically Adesanya kept him off balance.
Hmm.
But even someone like Romero couldn't scare him or slow him down, And someone like Jake Paul definitely doesn't threaten him, and he's gonna probably come out like a beast and swing, throw down with him. And I want to see what happens when that happens to Jake Paul.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, man. The YouTuber thing's gone kind of quiet lately, right? Like there's been so much noise for like the last 2 years. Even in Japan, we haven't had many YouTubers coming back after the whole Kubo thing, right? The whole
Yeah.
Shiba Bar and Kubo. So yeah, maybe the YouTube era is declining in terms of the YouTube fights, but let's see
I
what
don't know.
happens.
I think Costa Jake Paul would bring all that pay-per-view right back up there, man.
You reckon?
Yeah, because you got to remember, there's a majority of the people don't like Jake Paul.
True.
Majority of
People
people
still
want
want
to see him get his head knocked off.
Yeah.
And if someone can knock the head off, Costa definitely would be a good candidate.
Yeah.
That would excite me, and it wouldn't excite you.
Yeah, no, I'd still like to see it. I mean, I always want to see Jake Paul get his head knocked off, right? But it's just, yeah, I just for some reason I can't picture that happening. I mean, I wonder if he doesn't go do, you know, a YouTube fight or whatever. I wonder where he'll go. I mean, he could fit quite well in Bellator. Maybe he'll go and get that PFL money. I mean, loads of people seem to be opting for that. It's the thing about PFL, right? It's that check that's dangling. People want it, they want that $1 million, right? It's a nice one to go in and say you could make that, right? So
Yeah,
but
I
who
wonder.
knows?
It's really interesting to see where. Well, Dana's expressed interest in wanting to keep him.
Yeah, I imagine they try and re-sign him.
Yeah, I imagine they give him what he wants, as long as he doesn't be really unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I have a question.
Sure.
What do you think about that whole thing about Kayla Harrison kind of talking down on Amanda Nunes, Cyborg, and some other Brazilian heavyweight or
How she's
155 fighter?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's trying to make a bit of a stir, right? In terms of getting her name out there, I guess, kind of thing. It's one where Kayla is kind of everyone recognizes that she's really good, but she's never had that huge platform, I guess, to really sort of showcase. I mean,
Yeah,
PFL is the platform, but
I think it's a nice ploy to try and get the hype going.
mm-hmm.
But I also believe that I think she needs to understand her status and where she is. She's
Mm-hmm.
still a newcomer coming to the sport. She's dominating PFL, but I don't think I've heard of any of the fighters she's beaten yet.
Well, if you remember, she was all but signed to the UFC at one point, right? When right before the Amanda Nunes lost? I think they were talking about bringing in Kayla Harrison, weren't they, and doing that fight at 145. But then Nunes obviously lost, so that there was suddenly like, oh well, we need to do the rematch. And I think that's what sort of cut the talks or something, because of the fact that they weren't going to do that. Was like the obvious next matchup to make. So and plus the UFC's 145 division. I mean, not much happens in it, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Can you
So
remember the last 145?
the way she was calling him out, though, she was saying, she was kind of blaming, accusing them of running. I don't know. Maybe it's just her playing the heel.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
that's
trying
the thing she was saying was kind of like, ooh, I don't think you're in the position to say that. You're calling them out, telling them they're running from you, but you're the one who chose to stay in the PFL. And it's
right.
like, they can't jump associations. It's like, it's kind of like, wow. And then, then she criticized Cyborg for going to boxing and not fighting her. But what she has to remember is Cyborg's the big name.
Yeah.
She's the up and comer. So I don't know why Cyborg would be required to fight her. So I just thought she's maybe stepping a little bit overstepping her who she is right now, and maybe it's about creating the hype or creating a stir. But I just think it's a little bit disrespectful.
Question for you: Did you see the bare knuckle fight with MVP and Mike Perry?
I didn't see it, but I heard the results. Did you see it?
Good. Yeah, I saw the main event. Good fight.
How was it?
Really good, fun fight. It was kind of weird because I didn't realize bare knuckle did it where it was like a majority draw, and then they do like an overtime round. That was really fun, actually. That caught me off guard. That was, it was cool. I kind of wish I went to it.
Fight then, huh?
Yeah, well, originally MVP I thought was just taking it. I thought he was gonna win it, and then I think the round 5, Mike Perry landed some brutal shots and really did some damage. And then they went to the overtime round, and then Perry, probably won that round. So it was kind of MVP was a little bit unlucky because it seemed like he was going to walk away with it, but then he did get knocked down in the first round as well. So that kind of skewed the scores a bit. So yeah, it was a fun fight. It was bare knuckle has its moments, right? It's pretty fun sometimes.
Is it on YouTube? How did you see it?
A friend actually had it, ordered it on Fight, so I was watching it there. I just caught the end when I got.
I do have the bare knuckle app though.
Yeah, I think it's on Fight TV. It was actually here in London. I wish I went to it, but I didn't.
Oh
but,
wow, you should have.
I know. It just timings just didn't quite work out with some other stuff going on. But next time I will try and catch them when they come. But it's pretty great. Yeah. We've had PFL here. We had PFL in Cardiff, which was super close to me, and then we had and then PFL put on another show in London, and then there
was a UFC London too, huh?
There's a UFC London as well. I've missed all these events, so I need to try and go out my way. This is what happens when you have a kid, right? It just
you got the little member of the family in there, man.
Yeah, it's not exactly easy to take a 4-month-old to a MMA event, but well, cool. I think unless you got anything else to add, I think that kind of wraps up this edition.
No, that was a nice talk, man. Interesting stuff that's happening right now. Talk of the town right now.
Next up, hopefully next week, we should have the legend himself, Frank Shamrock, on the podcast. So it's going to be an exciting episode. You guys talking your fight from Vale Tudo, Japan. But yeah, everybody, we hope you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we will talk to you guys again soon.
All right. That was a cool episode. Thank you for listening, everybody. Also, make sure you share, press the like, and please subscribe. Right on.